Keith, take us back. Life for all of us started somewhere. Where did it start for you?
In the Unley area. I've always lived in Adelaide. Grew up through the schools through around the Unley area and headed off. I worked for John Martin's for a number of years in the 80s before they closed, and then toured with a theatre company nationally in 1985, which is another whole story in itself. And then came back to Adelaide and started in the audio sound production PA area and developed on into working in musical instrument area for a number of years with Alan's Music, and then on into the commercial audio visual industry with two different companies for 20 plus years. And now I'm just starting to wind back after 37 years in that career. But along the process, my father worked in the radio industry in Adelaide in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, so tell us about your family growing up. Who was around you? What's your family made of?
So just one older brother. My mother and father are living in a small house in Unley, and just lots of memories of my father being actively involved in not quite video broadcast like this, but audio recording and PA and all sorts of things. Professionally for a period up to his retirement with the Department of Agriculture. But there was always reel-to-reel recorders and record players and all those sort of things in the house. And as I got into my teenage and into my 20s, I started to realise more about his history from the 40s and 50s, and especially when he retired and started collecting a lot of radio and audio recording equipment, which eventually led to a registered private museum in the family home in Unley, which was static in that location for 20 years. And then he left all that to me when he passed in 2008, which is now a pop-up exhibition I do in libraries, and I think I've done 18 libraries now over the last 5 or 6 years, usually during the History Festival in May. And it's been an interesting side hobby to my career in the audiovisual industry.
Yeah, so was your mum on board with this as well?
I think she just tolerated, and when my brother and I both got married and moved out of the family home, she often told the story of my father saying, "What are we going to do with the front room now?" And my mother saying, "Well, it's not what I'm going to do with it, it's what you're going to do with it, with your collection." And he grew it to around 400 items in that registered private museum while it was static in that location.
Yeah. So was there one thing growing up that you weren't allowed to touch?
Well, interestingly, a lot of the equipment, including the recorder that's in the front shop, the reel-to-reel recorders in the front shop, are driven by valves, and valves required a fairly high voltage.
Yeah.
And our father never actually showed me or my older brother about how to work with valves, presumably because of the high voltages and the potential to, do injury and potentially kill yourself with them. So
did that stop you though?
It did with valves, yes.
Right.
But I had lots of interests through school and things too, sport and all sorts of other things. So electronics was not really my core area, but being a musician as well, playing drums in bands and things, it was a natural progression to get into sound reproduction, PA work, public address work, and with bands and things, and through into working for Alan's Music with musical instruments for 11 years, and that led me into all sorts of different areas with all sorts of different clients.
And what about your brother? Does he into that as well?
Yeah, so he's worked in that area too. He's now self-funded retiree, and I'm heading towards that retirement path. But yes, he's more in the electronics side and did all sorts of things in
Yep. Yeah. That's good. So you, I mean, you mentioned too that you had this little path. It's a whole story in itself, going off with a drama troupe, was it? So there's a bit of creativity to you as well, or was it more the audio side of things that drew
Well,
you?
it was a production in 1985 called Regardless that toured Australia for International Youth Year, and it was put together by Fusion Australia, and they had started the tour. I think they'd actually asked me in late 84 whether I would join, and I'd said no at the time. And then in about March 85, they were coming through Adelaide on the way to Perth, and their drummer was having to leave because his wife was having a baby. So they needed a drummer, and I could also drive their truck and drive their bus and help focus their lighting rig and improve their sound system and do all sorts of other things. So I went off for about a year with that tour through to the end of 85 and then a little bit into 86 as well, and then came back to Adelaide and started in, that career as an income.
Thanks for watching this short clip of Life Bursts. Make sure that you hit the subscribe, like, and follow button. And for more, head to rawcut.com.au.